Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the Orville Season 3 on Disney+. And I know this said, premiered on Hulu and whatnot, but they put it on Disney+. I'm like, that's where I've been watching it, and I really like this season. Now granted, there are problems with it to where I'm like, it's not, the best, but I liked that it went on a more serious tone and had the best kind of balance between its tone and its jokes. They did stuff with, time travel and, the egg salad sandwich bit. That worked out. Lamar and Tala trying to have a relationship and him being injured constantly. That was a kind of funny little thing. It's I'm not that it's funny that he's getting injured, but how they're trying to kind of deal with that whole scenario and what kind of goes on with it, because he's nope, I'm just gonna go to sick bay, kind of deal with it, and he's saying that he's just doing these weird ass simulations, and Claire's like, what the fuck are you doing? And it kind of sucks because you see it building throughout the season. Well, not building. The biggest kind of issue with the season is that things seem to be accelerated to a certain point, almost like they didn't know if they would get renewed for a fourth season, so they tried to get everything out in kind of one shot. So you got a lot of weird pacing issues that occur. Also because, for some fucked up reason, a lot of these episodes start going past an hour mark, and I don't mind experimenting to a certain extent, episode lengths, but when you start getting to an hour and a half and everything like that, you're getting into kind of movie territory, and it's alright, are you able to get everything kind of that you need to do? Is this needed time, or is this just because you didn't know what to cut or whatnot? Because there's certain kind of things that definitely needed more expanding upon, and other stuff that is just alright, cool, that's not bad. It gives us kind of the world that's kind of living in here, but there's a lot of things that needed kind of more explanation. Now, the biggest kind of weirdness that occurs is ironically enough, the beginning and the end. The beginning, if you're confused of the timeline of what's going on, I wouldn't blame you, because we open up pretty much with the Kaylon attack on Earth, as Marcus is having a bad dream about it, and we see that the Orville's getting upgraded. They're getting some other kind of stuff as well, but Marcus and Ty are vastly older than when we left off. There's kind of a pretty big kind of time jump between season 2 and season 3, and we're just kind of thrown into it, and not really much explanation is done for it. It's very awkward and strange. There needed to be more kind of stuff going on, because I know real world events affected shit going on and all that, but it's just holy fucking shit. And this one mainly dealt with the crew being antagonistic towards Isaac, to the point that he makes in his mind, the logical decision to commit suicide, which is wow, pretty heavy to kind of deal with, and especially on the first episode. And we also get introduced to this Charlie character who's I fucking hate all the Kaylons, pretty much. And we pretty much do at least get an explanation, because we learn later on that this woman, Amanda, that she had feelings for, sacrificed herself to save Charlie. And she pretty much hates all the Kaylons for that. But the thing is, we keep mostly in that holding pattern where she really doesn't get out of that until she pretty much sacrifices herself to save the Kaylons. Because we get a Kaylon that has emotions and explains the whole kind of slavery bit to her, and she's well, I guess it's kind of wrong to try and paint a whole race as evil, and that there's other kind of factors at play, the emotive Kaylon and Isaac fucking went against the Kaylon when they asked him to kill Claire's kids. He has seen stuff that has refuted the conclusion that the main Kaylons have kind of come to. But then we also get flashbacks of what was going on with the builders, and I'm that was pretty effective. I liked seeing that kind of bit to understand the Kaylon side, because of how nasty it started getting with their builders, but that still doesn't excuse them being again, they have fallen into the trap of being Charlie is making the same mistake that the Kalons are. You cannot judge everyone by the actions of a few. You need to go, like, if you see somebody pretty much trying to put a bottle rocket up a living animal's ass, you go after that person, not like the dude that's like half a world away trying to make a cheese sandwich. He probably has no fucking clue what that asshole's doing. You know? Like, he's just making his cheese sandwich. Like, if he knew that dude was probably doing it, he'd probably be like, fuck you, man, why the fuck are you doing that? While eating his cheese sandwich. I know that's kind of strange, but, like, you have to be careful when you do these kind of things. But I really do like that they had these kind of episodes to thinking on that. Again, it's just down to the nitty-gritty of the executions of trying to help, because she kind of gets in the holding pattern of treating Isaac like shit, gets a little bit of kind of stuff. I mean, he kills himself in the first episode, and Charlie is needed to, like, revive him, and Marcus is the one that goes to her and be like, can you please help him? Because I feel that, like, what I said helped tipped him over the edge for that kind of shit, and she finally does, because she can think in, like, multiple dimensions. Now, I know that's a weird kind of thing to do, and an even weirder kind of thing to kind of showcase, but something needed to be done to Riley kind of, like, do that, because there could have been other kind of people that kind of do this. Because we did get the kind of conflict of Mercer, Ed trying to, like, order her to do this, because it's like, yeah, we have the capability. If we have the ability to save him and bring him back, it is our duty and obligation to do so. I'm like, that's why I'm liking you, Ed. Let's see here. Second one dealt with, like, diplomatic kind of overtures to the Krill, which doesn't last very long, but they get the capabilities to go into this kind of space station, and it's like, yeah, there's fucking demons in there. And I like how they explore, like, explorers like, yeah, there's actually some truth to that, but they don't eat your soul. They kind of transform you in a kind of not mating, but like reproductive kind of thing going on. However, this also showcased why the fuck nobody like, granted, I understand that if you want to do a Contagion Monster of the Week kind of thing, which this does pretty well with Time Marcus being like, that's the motherfucking spider dude! Ah! It's fucking like spitting on people and making them into more things. It's like, this kind of freaky. And at least gave Talos something that'll actually fight with her strength. However, you have to watch out so that you don't get plot demands, that people get stupid. They like go into this dark space, and they find this red glowing, strange looking station. And of course you're like, alright, this is kind of freaky. Let's kind of explore this thing. They don't go in with suits. They go in with suits after somebody's already fucking infected and pretty much starts infecting the other people in the ship. Which, I understand that you kind of need that, but there's smarter ways to go about it and make it more kind of organic. Because this was like an admiral level dude who had previously been married to Claire. And he gets infected and starts going, fuckity-doo-dah, fuckity-day, I'm gonna spit everywhere and make it my way. I didn't try that, but that worked. Shit. Okay, and you're just like, your first inclination in an exploratory kind of fashion is to go into a place that you don't know, and don't know, like, it's got breathable atmosphere. Sure, that's a pretty good fucking thing, but what's in it? I mean, I could technically breathe this air, but there could be, like, crazy-ass germs that make my asshole explode or something, or like a head pop out of my kneecap. I don't know, you know what I mean? Granted, that's my luck if I was like exploring something that's like, dude, your asshole's exploded. Well, what else is fucking new? But you know what I mean? Just because you can breathe, it doesn't mean you should. Especially since breathing is kind of like an involuntary process that you kind of need to do. So, filter. Wow. Nose is acting up. So, we had to deal with that, which was actually, now granted, it's a decent Monster of the Week episode. However, you gotta work on it. Now granted, I understand some stupidity has to work into a factor, but make it kind of an organic stupidity. Like Yaphet accidentally doing something would have probably worked better, like he's oozing over something and accidentally does it. Let's see here. Episode 3 kind of dealt with an interesting kind of callback, though granted, it took too long to kind of get to the end goal with it. Where we see that this away team gets like drawn into all these things and they're like experiencing death and everything like that. We learned that the planet that Kelly had accidentally pretty much became god of had advanced like 50,000 years, and that they'd become immortal, and they wanted to learn about mortality and essentially did God's stupid shit. And it's like, why the fuck would you do this to these people, you asshole? I mean, fuck. Now granted, Kelly kind of fucked up their shit too, but that doesn't... Just because somebody's shit in your cornflakes doesn't give you carte blanche to, like, jizz in their soup. I know you're gonna be like, what? Is that equal? No, because it's kind of different fucking scenarios, but yet it's along enough of the same line that somebody fucked around with somebody else doing shit. Now, granted, I do like the implications, how they're like, would you want to be immortal? And Ed being like, yeah, because I want to see what fucking happens. And I'm like, yeah, that's, like... I really agreed with Ed on that kind of thing. I'm like, it's not to be all ending or whatnot. It's just like sometimes you just want to see what fucking cool ass shit happens. You know what I mean? Like, what if somebody makes like super awesome French toast that you have no idea or concept of what, like how to have made it or how to have done it? And you're like, wow, that's fucking cool. That's just a little thing. A little thing. On the timeline front. I'm talking then you start going like, what if somebody makes a fucking mech ship or something? You know? Like the Orville could fucking... I'm a motherfucking Gundam bitch. I'm gonna fight you. Kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like you'd see everything and then they could like make universes that are inside other universes and Tangatopa Gurren Lagann this motherfucker that's powering shit and like Dyson spheres that like speak French to like cosmic poodles that like fucking fight flaming Cerberus hellhounds. You never know what's gonna happen, man. So that was an interesting kind of thought experiment, and it's just like just because somebody was a dick to you does not give you the ability to be a dick to somebody else. Alright, then we get to fucking where we get to the Krill shit. This again, I don't have a problem of the actual point and kind of like the content of like the Krill and everything, but we needed a better kind of breakdown of why the Krill had a contingent against the peace treaty to get it to a point where like Talea is like, I am now supreme cheesehead motherfucker and I'm gonna stab some people, because she does go kind of stabby. Because the peace talks are pretty much fucked over because the one dude got voted out of office because of the weird kind of shit they were doing. It kind of fused more on the kind of like topical stuff, I think, of like commentary on like elections and shit like that, and not to count your chickens before they fucking get brought in. But it just was like, alright, you kind of needed to do more work to show this, because we were pretty much like, I mean, we weren't fucking like getting ready to like get sexy with the Krill, but we were at least enough to be like, yo, shaking hands and maybe do like the bro hug when we see him. Like, yo, dude, like the awkward bro hug. Like, you know somebody long enough that you're like, alright, I don't want you to, like, you can stand close enough to me because I'll let you in my personal space, but you're not intimate enough to be like, yo, man, I got a body. I'm like, and it's like, I need you to help me bury it. It's like, no, I don't know you that well, bro. Click. Shit. And Talea's like, fuck this shit. They're gonna like on it. Like, she did bring up some salient kind of points, but we needed more to like kind of get to this point, as she then like pretty much imprisons the president and everything like that of the union that's come there to like sign the stuff and everything. Like, oh, this isn't bad. And almost is like let go by Talea, but like these other group of Krill kind of get to him, at which point you're thinking, oh, this might be a resistance Krill group that's like, yeah, we actually don't want to fucking have like this war and shit like that and fight you guys or whatnot, as Kelly's trying to deal with the whole situation and fighting and shit. Now granted, the amped up production value did do some pretty good space battles and shit, and some actually kind of cool effects this season. So I'm like, yes, with that. But we then see that Ed has a daughter with Talea, and that she just pretty much hides her in a hole. Like, granted, she's not mistreated or anything like that, and is done interestingly enough to see a fusion of Krill and human kind of stuff, and she seems pretty cool. But that's kind of all we get, and essentially have her used as a plot point. Ed pretty much gets taken back in, and she's like, I tried to save your ass. She's like, what about our daughter? It's like, she's fine. But, of course, Lamar and Claire arrive because they were disguised as Krill, and they get him out. And it's like, well, I shouldn't have let her fucking leave. And he's, like, trying to figure out what to do with, like, the info of his daughter. And in the background, we've got stuff going on with Clyden and Bortus. We get this episode, The Tale of Two Topas, as Topa is interested in doing stuff with the Union and all that, and then feels that, like, he's wrong. Something's wrong with him. And then finds out that he was born female. Now, granted, it's a little bit of Kelly, a little bit of Bortus doing it. She kind of leads Topa to kind of figuring it out, but Bortus gives the password to kind of get into it and figure out what's kind of going on. And Clyden's pissed off about that. This was a pretty good one on that kind of front, because we see that Kelly's really trying to help Topa because of having, like, dark thoughts and wondering if he'll ever be happy, and you need to know the truth about yourself. And how hard that is to kind of deal as an outside observer about stuff going on. Like, how deep do you get involved with this kind of thing? And it gets nutty, man. And the thing is, Topa wants to have the surgery reversed and be female, and Clyden's like, I'm not doing this. And Bortus is like, I want Topa to have the surgery, and Clyden threatens to kind of leave him. And the thing is, they get information from the Union that they can't do it because there was the whole kind of trial thing. They don't want to anger the Mocklins, and that's a whole kind of thing that's going on with the Mocklins. It does show that, like, you can try and be as accepting as possible and try and have this, but you had them pretty much as your weapons hole, and that let them do all these kind of different kind of things, and it does come to a head later on in the season, and it's just kind of nuts. Like, they're trying to figure out ways to kind of do this, Claire offering to resign her commission in order to do the whole kind of thing, but Isaac volunteers to do it because he's not technically a Union officer. So they pretty much orchestrate this whole kind of thing where everybody on the ship would be pretty much occupied, and Isaac would be able to do this kind of thing. And the thing is, Clyde has pretty much made himself pretty much just a loner at this point, because he tried to go after Kelly, and she's like, I will put your ass in your place. He tries to stop the whole kind of operation thing, and Isaac's like, I will put your ass in your place. And he leaves, and they do go through with it, and Topa is back to being female. And it's like, okay, Clyde pretty much renounces ties with them, wishes that she was never born, and Bortus reaffirms that he loves her and everything. It's like, holy fucking shit, this was kind of big. It's like, it really amped up the whole asshole stuff with Clyde, and then it still kind of fucks up because we do get some reconciliation in the end. Now, I don't mind that, but pacing and execution is what has to be kind of tinkered with here. It's not the worst execution, but it's like, come on, people. Let's see. Then we get another kind of like time travel thing where like they're fucking with the Aronov device, and this is where the whole egg sandwich thing happens. We see that Gordon gets sent back to 2015 because that's where the Lady Boo is, and they're trying to like find him, and they use their Aronov device to get shot back, but they only get shot back to 2025. They see that Gordon is pretty much kind of fucked with the timeline, because after he got shot back to 2015, there's a little thing of him uh, like an obit of him, and it's like, ah, shit. No, like, you fucked with the timeline, bro. And it's like, yeah, but we really haven't been seeing enough kind of consequences to kind of detail that kind of thing. I understand cross-contamination and everything like that, but you gotta work, you have to show what your time travel rules are and explain them clearly enough to be like, okay, him being back there could mess up with certain kind of stuff, because if he married this chick and had this family, it could vastly affect a lot of different things. Like, it's not shown why, because the Union seemed kind of fine in what was kind of going on. Now, granted, depending upon how you do your time travel, technically the Union that we were looking at as our present could have been a splinter reality, and that it was not locked into the effects that Gordon could have had in the past if he had shouted, Dysonium injectors or quantum drives or something like that, or accidentally said something during sex that gave somebody an idea to like do something, or like his kids became dictators of like a chocolate factory in Belgium and started a candy condiment war 30,000 years in the future that fought the like 50,000 years aliens that are immortal with fucking chocolate spears or something. I'm going like the most insane route of what kind of fuckity-doo-dah, could have occurred. Like, if you're gonna go balls out, motherfucker. Understand like how crazy certain shit can go. But we don't really see that. Like, he could have been left alone and became like a potato chip magnet that had no effect on anything whatsoever. It depends upon the rules that are put out. Now, granted, I understand the dilemma they were going for, where Ed's like, you gotta come back. He's like, alright then, if I'm coming back, you're taking my family. He's like, I can't fucking do that. It's like, fine then, then just fucking leave us. It's like, alright, cool, I'm gonna go back to 2015 and crack your ass out that way. And he's like threatening to shoot him and everything. I was like, wow, they just amped up Gordon to be a dick. I understand trying to do the moral and ethical dilemma of this kind of thing, but we keep doing time travel shit, and the thing is, we usually don't have enough episodes to have enough breathing space to have between those. It's like, alright, we keep doing this. Why do we keep doing this? So they go back, they get him, and he's like, hey, thanks guys. It's like, wow, that was pretty shitty. And 2015 Gordon's like, yeah, you did the right thing. This is the Timus one, episode 7, with the fall of the Kalons and everything. And Isaac does get an operation to allow him to have emotions. However, he was made after the uprising, so his thing is not worked out well enough. So they would pretty much have to almost like completely rewrite some shit in his head. And Claire is like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to force you to do that. And Charlie's more open to working with him because of what was kind of going on. Let's see. Eight, 9, and 10 starts getting a little bit weird. Yeah. 8 details the kind of like fracturing of the Mocklin kind of treaty, which this was actually pretty cool to kind of like see, because they go back to Havina to see if she's keeping up with the whole agreement. The Mocklins are looking at it too, so is the Union. Topa wants to go and kind of meet, and they have a cool little thing where Havina actually acts like a dickhole. Like, she has actually broken the treaty to try and like keep protecting Mocklin female children, and fucking draws in Topa to be part of her network and send off communiques and everything like that. And I'm just like, it's one thing to ask someone that understands the repercussions of their actions and will accept those kind of consequences. This is a kid that doesn't understand the whole dickholery that can ensue from this kind of stuff. Granted, Mocklus has fucked with her, and she understands that kind of bit and does want to help people, but it's like, you are the very fucking old adult, which kind of goes into this kind of thing that you kind of see of like, yes, when you're a teenager, you do stupid fucking shit, and then it's almost like, hey, you kind of balance out, like, you're grow up to kind of learn to, like, temper certain kind of things, but then you kind of go back to that kind of state. Not completely, but, like, you go back to that kind of thinking where you're like, I kind of know what I'm fucking doing, and then you find out that somebody stuffed a radish up your ass because you weren't thinking straight, and for some reason thought it was a good idea to put peanut butter on it, and fucking be like, let's see how this fucking works. It's like, nope, now you got peanut butter in your asshole. Among other things, and are chased by the cops. Always be careful with those kind of things and those kind of thoughts. I do not speak from experience on this. I wouldn't stuff a fucking peanut butter cracked up radish up my ass. Fuck that noise. But you understand, certain things that seem like a good idea when you're really young or really old are not usually that. Such as trying to induct someone who really doesn't understand the ramifications of this kind of shit. So like, yes, I do want to help people, but you're like, got the political shit going on. And of course, they kind of forced the kind of thing, the Makla people, that delegation that was sent to kind of see what was going on, kidnaps and abducts Topa to then torture her to try and get the information out of her. And it's like, it's stupid. Why do people always think that torture is the way to go with this kind of shit? It's like, you fucking asshole. And then Ed berates Havina for the whole kind of thing, and she's like, I'm gonna do this. It's like, the ends don't justify the means, dude. I understand them trying to temper it because Havina was acting stupid on this kind of thing. If anything, why the fuck wouldn't she talk to Boris about the goddamn thing? He's higher ranking and would have fucking clearances and shit. Like, honestly. And granted, it was a good thing to try and help these children. However, you've made your agreement and stuff like that. There's other kind of ways to kind of do it. Like, I understand. There's always that kind of thing of like, if the law is immoral, do you break the law and everything like that? But the thing is, the Moklins were acting like complete and utter dillholes of like, I'm going to take away my weapons and my toys because you're not letting me act like a complete and fucking bigoted asshole. It's... The thing is, the Moklins were always going to be that kind of thorny thing because what happens if they're like, they demand that they speak to no female? Because it kind of gets into that kind of point when they like talk with the Krill. It's like, you guys are just gonna sit in your corner. Doesn't matter if you got the like best fucking weapons. If you got 2 fucking ships armed with a fucking nuke, that ain't gonna help you if a fucking giant fleet comes and like, alright, yeah, you're gonna take out maybe like 3/4 of our fleet. You gonna be there when I take my boot up your other 2? Like, seriously. Now granted, I'm just kind of simplifying it to this kind of point, because when I see their alliance, it's like I barely even see any fucking Moklin ships and that kind of thing. But it was always going to be this point where it's like, dude, you're being a dickhole. We try and work with you, and you still kind of act like you're getting the short end of this stick. Gordon actually calls him out on that kind of thing, as they're trying to deal with the whole thing. We do get a Dolly Parton cameo, which was kind of cool, as Havina pretty much gets talked into doing the right thing. She goes and explains herself to the council. Sorry, I always think of Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Evil council. Sorry, whenever something like that pops up. The Moklins are like, fuck this noise. But of course, she's doing this to try and get Topa back, as Bortus and Kelly are kind of going there. And for some reason, it seems like there's a kind of like thing going on between them, but then Clyde pops back in the picture, and that kind of thing gets kind of fucked up. Not here, but a little bit later. And they get to Topa before a lot of damage is done. Bortus is pissed off and uses the Krill kind of thing that this one dude was doing to like blast out this other dude's eye. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. I understand the emotion, but don't become that asshole. Like, you take out that asshole and stop them from doing those kind of things. So they pretty much bring Topa in and explain that they were taken by the Moklins and she was tortured and everything. They didn't do any medical attention on her, and the rest, like the Union, vote to expel Noclis, and then they pretty much try and go to the Krill, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to speak with any females. It's like, and Talayla fucking like goes, you can go suck a giant dick, man. Like, fuck off with that noise. Like, granted, in her own kind of way, it's just like, no, it's going to be a partnership, dickweed. I don't give a fuck. It's like, alright. It's like, that would not work out that well. They might be allied for like 2 minutes max. The religious zealotry of the Krill of being like, only we have souls, versus the bigoted assholery of the Mocklins, that would... like, I would almost be like, listen. And they're like, why the fuck is that dude from the Union here? I'm here to time this shit because I got a fucking bet, man. 2 minutes. And we are done. Like, literally, it really wouldn't work that well. I would almost have rather have had the Mocklins on one side, the Krill on the other side, and then we had, like, the Kalons and the Union, and them having this uneasy kind of four-way war thing going on. Because it's kind of a little bit too neatly wrapped up by the end. Let's see. Clyden saw what had happened and reconciles with Topa and apologizes, and him and Bortus get back together, and he actually talks with Kelly and invites her to dinner. And it's just like, I don't mind this, but it's a lot to fucking take in about like one episode. So we see pretty much the ramifications in the next Domino episode, but with the added effect that Charlie and Isaac were able to make this device that is able to pretty much take out the Kalon, and they pretty much use it as a deterrent to force the Kalon to stop. And it's like, alright, cool. We got that knocked out. But then, Ted Danson. Perry? Yes. Admiral Perry betrays the Union, takes the device, and gives it to the Krill and the Mocklins to use and take out the Kalon. And that really goes against everything that the Union stands for. So the Orville and them kind of figure out what's kind of going on. The Kalon are like, what the fuck? You say, I got a gun that can take your ass out, and you fucking lose it? Now, granted, they're a little bit more like, you're incompetent, dill holes. And they decide to, like, team up together with the Union, and we get a kind of giant space battle as they pretty much do a Death Star kind of thing to get in, because they pretty much hooked up the device to a giant quantum core to have a longer range of effect to try and take out all the Kalon. Even though they used a Mocklin scientist that wasn't exactly on Charlie and like Isaac's kind of level, but they kind of get in. They're trying to kind of do their kind of stuff, but Charlie elects to stay behind and is able to do a feedback thing that kills her, and she pretty much is reunited with, like, she pretty much used it as like I'm coming Amanda kind of bit. And we see also that she had pretty much been talking about how she had feelings for Amanda but never said anything to her, and she's kind of pissed at Isaac, pissed at herself. I wish they kind of explored that a little bit more. But the Kalon are affected by this because the device is destroyed, and the Kalon are like, why did she do this? She hated us. And I was like, yeah, that's the point. That's why she fucking did it. She knew it was right, and she did it. He's like, okay, cool. And that affects the Kalon enough that they stop, and they apply for Union membership, and they get in provisionally to have the whole kind of thing of the Kalon and the Union come together. And it's just, I like the spot. Execution's a little bit rushed. I'm like, this would have been cool for like a season kind of long kind of thing. And I'm talking like at least like 5 episodes, 10 episodes to actually kind of get to this point. Do what the story needs, not be like, we got 10 episodes, let's fucking crack this shit out in one. But I kind of understand how they feel like this is probably going to be, I don't know if we'll get any more after this. And they capture Talea, and she tries to pretty much use her daughter as a way to kind of get out, but Ed's like, I learned last time, you got turned into like the fucking cheese head of the Krill and said, fuck your shit. And I'm like, I ain't doing that shit no more. So we'll kind of have to see any kind of ramifications on that. And then episode 10 is, weirdly enough, the weirdest kind of way to bookend it, with it ending with a wedding. That, granted, did have funny kind of things. I did not expect to see a robot in assless chaps and titty tassels, but I did, and that was funny as shit. And I'm just like, alright, go for it, because that was Claire's bachelorette party. Isaac decides to ask Claire to marry him, and he also says that he'd like look after her children's children, like generations down the line. One, as that observing it, but also because he cares about her. She's like, all right, cool, let's do this shit. Seeing that like Bortus was picked as the best man instead of Gordon was kind of funny because he's like, I'm the better one, and he's like, God damn it. And Bortus' bachelor party was just like, oh god. And him just trying to do toast and stuff at the wedding was just like nuts. We also get the weird B plot of Lysella from the like whole upvote downvote place. She like stole a communicator thing and wanted to get the fuck off the planet because it was going horrendous. And then she starts feeling guilty for it and was gonna go back, but with like stuff to kind of like give them tech and shit. But Kelly's like, listen, this is like when the Union first kind of set out and went kind of missionary style. I'm like, hey, here's some good shit. The planet and everybody got fucked over in like 5 years. Sometimes you got to work through your growing pains to kind of get to there. That I liked how they were kind of explaining their whole kind of like prime directive kind of thing of like, do not give ants nukes. Because, now granted, I'm not trying to say that every kind of technologically inferior thing is an ant. But I mean, if you give an ant a nuke, there's gonna be some repercussions. Unless they're like, what the fuck is a nuke? And then accidentally set it off and annihilate themselves. Because you're just like going around, it's like, what the fuck is this thing? Boop, boop, like you're going around inside. I'm going really weird on these kind of things today, but what the fuck? And it's just, okay, you could have just focused all on the kind of wedding thing. I understand to kind of like fill some space, but you could have done a lot of other stuff. And the funny bit is, Isaac invited pretty much the entire Kalon race. And seeing them pop up and have the primary Kalon pop up. The wedding was kind of cool. We got Alara to pop up as a cameo. I like the outfits for like the like wedding parties and stuff. Like dress uniforms for the Union look pretty cool. I like those design wise. I like the kind of tux outfits that like Ty and Marcus were having on. Those look pretty nice. And like Claire's wedding dress, I'm like, nice future designs there. And them just like having fun at the reception and everything and then being done. I'm like, okay, we'll have to see if they get a kind of fourth season. It's like they rush through certain kind of stuff to kind of get it done. And I understand that because I've had those kind of feelings with other kind of seasons. But overall, I enjoyed it in the seriousness of what was kind of going on and the character interactions for those things. Again, it just came down to kind of execution and pacing that became the biggest kind of feels of what's going on. Added also to the fact that they only had 10 episodes and that sometimes certain episodes were really kind of longer. And I'm like, okay, you could have chopped off certain kind of bits and created like a couple other episodes out of them, or maybe even one other one. So I still enjoyed this and would still kind of recommend it to anybody who's like wants a kind of Star Trek fix with kind of more kind of comedic kind of stuff going on. And granted, the thing is, this is a vastly more kind of serious one, and I think they got the sweet spot with this, where the comedy and the seriousness interwove it together enough where they weren't fighting each other tonally like in the first season. It's a nice kind of evolution, and it just sucks of like, we don't know if we're going to be doing any more of these. Shit. And character-wise, I did like that they were getting other kind of character developments on other ones. It just always sucks when you get like one character that's introduced, you get him developed, it's like, let's kill him! Granted, it felt kind of more natural, at least with Charlie's kind of decision, but use deaths when they're necessary, not just because, hey, let's kill this person off. You could just fucking... Charlie could have went on some kind of leave and like fucked off for like 3 seasons if need be, and then came back and be like, hey, you never know. I kind of more tend to go on that kind of route. But yeah, I was happy with this season, barring the problems that kind of popped up, and would like to see where they would head in the 4th season. So those are my opinions on this season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.